My name is Aria Hall. I'm 32 years old, and I work as the Chief Financial Officer for a multinational corporation. I live a quiet life by choice. I believe in clarity, independence, and fairness, especially in relationships. I don't raise my voice. I don't make scenes. I solve problems. And that day, I was forced to choose between silence and self respect, between family harmony and the man who had never once asked me to shrink. Ethan stood beside me, calm but tense. He wasn't flashy. He never tried to impress anyone. He worked as an elementary school teacher, loved his students deeply, and believed kindness didn't need to announce itself. My parents hated that about him. They said he wasn't on our level. We had gotten married 2 weeks earlier, quietly. No drama, no extravagance, just warmth, laughter, and people who truly loved us. My parents weren't there. Not because they were busy, not because of distance, because I didn't invite them. And it all traced back to one wedding, my sister Naomi's, 1 year earlier. Growing up, Naomi and I lived in an ordinary household. My father was an electrical engineer. My mother worked administrative shifts at a local hospital. We never had luxury, but we were never hungry. Naomi is 6 years younger than me, and the day she was born, something shifted. Slowly, quietly, but permanently. I remember when I was an only child. Every scraped knee meant my mother panicked. Every drawing I made was taped proudly to the fridge. My father carried me to bed when I fell asleep on the couch. I thought love was permanent. Then Naomi arrived. She was small, bright-eyed, and gentle in a way people instantly adored. And just like that, I became the background. Birthdays grew quieter. Praise softened. Expectations hardened. I didn't resent Naomi. I told myself I was older, that it was my job to step aside. And for a long time, I believed that was what love looked like. But by high school, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Let Naomi have it. You're the older sister. She doesn't know any better. Those words repeated so often they stopped sounding reasonable. They became rules. I was asked to give up space, time, even emotions. And yes, there were moments I resented her. But Naomi had a way of undoing that resentment without even trying. Once, she hugged me from behind while I was studying and whispered, "Aria, you're the best person in the world." Another time, I overheard her telling her friends, "My sister can do anything. She's my superhero." She slipped apology notes into my bag when I was upset, left cookies on my desk when Mom scolded me. Naomi was never cruel. The favoritism wasn't her fault. Time passed. I moved out, built my career, created distance, close enough to care, far enough to survive. Then one afternoon, my father called. "You should come home," he said. "It's important." He wouldn't explain. And the weight in my chest told me, nothing good ever started that way. That night, I returned to the house alone, not because Ethan didn't want to come, but because I refused to bring him back into a place that had already wounded him once. And as I stood in that familiar living room, something told me my life was about to fracture all over again. The house smelled the same as it always had, faint lemon cleaner, overcooked rice, and something sharp underneath it all that I could never name. Memory, maybe, or warning. I stood just inside the entryway, fingers still curled around my car keys, when my mother appeared in the hallway like she'd been waiting for the sound of the lock. Her eyes raked over me from head to toe, pausing a little too long as if she expected me to have brought someone she could reject. Then she looked at the empty space beside me and nodded once. "You didn't bring that man," she said, voice clipped. "Good. I don't want to see his face." My jaw tightened. I kept my tone calm, controlled, like I was speaking to a colleague who didn't realize they'd crossed a line. "If you say that again," I replied, "I won't ever come back to this house." My mother blinked. For the first time in years, hesitation flickered across her face, quick as a match strike, gone before it could warm anything. Behind her, my father stepped into view, wearing an old sweater with frayed cuffs, like time had been chewing on him when no one was looking. "Come in," he said. "We need to talk." I followed them into the living room, and that's when I saw her. Naomi sat on the sofa with her hands clasped so tightly in her lap, her knuckles looked pale. Her eyes met mine, nervous and bright, like she was bracing for impact. She gave me a small nod. No smile. No hug. Just a silent plea I didn't understand yet. I sat across from them, posture straight, face blank, the kind of calm you wear when you've learned that emotion will be used against you. My father leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Naomi is getting married," he said. I nodded. That part didn't surprise me. I knew she'd been dating someone for a while. His name was Jonah. I'd met him briefly at a family dinner months ago. Quiet guy. Polite. the kind who didn't interrupt my mother even when she steamrolled conversations. Then my father's voice dipped heavier. She's pregnant. My chest tightened, not with judgment, but with sudden concern. Naomi's eyes fell to her lap, her shoulders curled inward as if she was trying to make herself smaller. My mother moved fast, filling the silence like she always did. 2 months along, she said, so we need to do this quickly, properly. Properly, in my mother's language, didn't mean love. It meant appearances. My father cleared his throat, the way he did when he was about to ask something he knew he didn't have the right to ask. We're planning the ceremony in about a month, he continued. But costs are high right now. Work's been rough. Naomi's out of a job. We need help. Here it comes, I thought. And right on cue. Around $25,000, my father said. The number hung in the air like a trap. $25,000. In my current position, it wasn't an impossible amount. But it wasn't the money that made my stomach turn. It was the familiarity. The way my parents said it, like they were asking me to bring a dish to Thanksgiving. The way Naomi stayed silent, staring at her hands like she'd already agreed without being given a choice. I looked at her directly. You've been working for 3 years, I said, measured. You didn't manage to save anything? Naomi's lips pressed together. Her eyes slid away. My mother snapped, protective, too fast, too defensive, like she'd rehearsed it on the drive home. She's been paying student loans, she said. Rent, expenses. Not everyone is as well off as you, Arya. The sentence landed exactly where it was meant to. Guilt. Not gratitude. Not acknowledgement. Just guilt dressed up as morality. I let the silence stretch. I didn't rush to soothe it. I'd learned that silence made people reveal themselves. My father didn't push. My mother didn't soften. Naomi didn't speak. That silence told me everything. This wasn't a request. It was an expectation. And in that moment, I had 2 choices. I could say no and watch Naomi suffer the consequences in a house where love was conditional. Or I could say yes and become, once again, the family's emergency fund. I heard Ethan's voice in my head, steady, gentle. You don't have to earn love, Arya. But I also remembered Naomi as a child, slipping apology notes into my backpack when Mom made me cry. I exhaled slowly. Okay, I said, I'll help. The entire room released a breath like they'd been holding it together. But I wasn't finished. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, and looked straight at my father. I'm not giving anyone cash, I said. I'll be the one signing the contracts. Every payment goes directly to the vendors. No middlemen. My father glanced at my mother. My mother glanced at Naomi. Naomi still wouldn't look at me. The pause dragged long enough to feel like they were deciding whether I was worth appeasing. Then my father nodded. Fine, he said, like he was granting me permission. I didn't correct him. A few days later, I drove to pick Naomi up. She climbed into my passenger seat with a carefulness that made her feel younger than she was. She smelled faintly like lavender and anxiety. We started with the venue. I signed, I wired, I demanded receipts, I kept copies. Then we went to the bridal boutique. Naomi's eyes widened when she stepped into the showroom, like she'd walked into a world she didn't believe she deserved. She tried on dress after dress, turning toward the mirror with cautious hope. And for the first time that day, I saw her relax. Her smile, small, real, made something soften in me. When she finally chose one, she stepped out of the fitting room, glowing, clutching the wrapped white dress like it was a fragile promise. Outside by the car, she turned to me. Arya, she said quietly, voice trembling. Thank you. That simple gratitude hit harder than any apology my parents had ever offered me. And in that moment, I let myself believe it. Maybe things were changing. Maybe after all this, the support, the sacrifice, my parents would start to see me differently. Not as the cold, distant daughter. Not as the backup plan, but as family. That evening, I drove home through the city lights with soft jazz humming through the speakers. I thought about Ethan waiting for me at our apartment, probably making tea, probably asking gently how it went without pushing for details. I thought about Naomi as a little girl calling me her superhero. And against my better judgment, I let hope in. But hope in my family was always the first thing punished. 3 days before the wedding, my mother reminded me exactly why I should never lower my guard. I was at the office, pouring myself coffee, when her name lit up my phone. The moment I answered, her voice was sharp, commanding, like she was reading lines off a script she'd practiced in the mirror. The wedding is in 3 days, she said. You'll come alone. Don't bring Ethan. My fingers tightened around the paper cup. The coffee inside sloshed, spilling a little over the rim, hot against my skin. I didn't even feel it. Why? I asked, voice low. She didn't hesitate. He's an embarrassment, she said. It's not just the teaching job, it's how he looks, how he dresses, plain, unrefined, People will talk. I stared out the office window at the city below. Cars moving like they had somewhere important to be, like their lives made sense. And inside me, something began to harden. Slowly, quietly, the way ice forms over water when no one is watching. That's enough, I said, each word controlled, deliberate. I don't want to hear anymore. My mother scoffed, like she was offended I dared to speak. You think you can talk to me like, if you keep this up, I cut in, I won't be seeing you again. Then I ended the call. Not with a slam, not with rage, with the kind of calm that meant I was done bargaining for basic respect. And in that exact moment, I knew something with absolute clarity. This wedding would not be the simple family affair I'd once hoped for. Because my mother wasn't asking me to leave Ethan at home. She was asking me to prove I could still be controlled. And the worst part? I knew she'd chosen this fight on purpose. 3 days before the wedding. Close enough that Naomi couldn't escape it. Close enough that I'd look like the villain if I refused. I stood there in my office, coffee cooling in my hand, and realized my mother wasn't planning a wedding. She was setting a trap. And I was walking straight toward it. The morning of the wedding arrived, wrapped in a strange, fragile silence. The kind that settles in before something breaks. Sunlight streamed through the bedroom window as I fastened the last clasp on my dress. I'd chosen something simple, elegant, tailored, nothing loud. It felt like armor, clean lines, no excess. Behind me, the door to the bathroom opened. Ethan stepped out. He wore a navy suit he'd had for years, pressed carefully the night before. His tie was a soft gray, understated, exactly like him. He looked good, not flashy, not trying to impress anyone who had already decided not to like him. He stood there quietly, watching me in the mirror. Then he spoke. Maybe, he said gently, I shouldn't go. The words landed softly, but they cut deep. I turned to face him. What did you just say? He didn't look away. That was the thing about Ethan. He never hid. His honesty was never loud, never dramatic. It just existed. I don't want to make things harder for you, he continued. Your family already hates me. Today is about Naomi. I don't want to be the reason something goes wrong. I crossed the room in 2 steps and wrapped my arms around him, pressing my forehead into his chest. Listen to me, I said, my voice low but steady. I will not ask you to erase yourself to make other people comfortable. He exhaled slowly, his arms coming around me like he was grounding us both. I'm not ashamed of you, I added, and I'm not walking into that room pretending you don't exist. His hand tightened against my back. I know, he said quietly. I just needed to say it out loud. An hour later, we arrived at the venue. As the bride's older sister and the person who'd signed every single contract, I wanted to be there early. I wanted to see Naomi before everything started, to tell her she looked beautiful, to give her something normal to hold on to. But the moment we stepped inside the reception hall, I felt it. The shift. My mother stood near the welcome table, laughing with a group of relatives. Her smile was wide, practiced, perfect. Then she saw us. The smile dropped instantly. Her eyes locked onto Ethan first, cold, sharp, then slid to me like a warning. She didn't greet us. She didn't ask how we were. She walked toward us, heels clicking against the marble floor like a countdown. Come with me, she said, voice low and clipped, both of you. I squeezed Ethan's hand once, reassuring, and followed her down the hallway behind the reception hall. The moment the door closed behind us, my mother spun around. Her arms crossed tight over her chest. Her gaze went straight past me and landed on Ethan. Do you not understand plain language, Arya? She snapped. I told you not to bring him. I stepped forward instinctively, placing myself half a step in front of Ethan. This is Naomi's wedding, I said calmly. I'm her sister. Ethan is my fiancé. His being here is completely appropriate. My mother let out a short, bitter laugh. Fiancé, she repeated. An elementary school teacher. I've held my tongue long enough. Today is a big day. I won't have people whispering behind our backs because you brought someone so plain. Ethan's hand tightened around mine. It had gone cold, but he didn't shake. He didn't speak. And somehow that silence hurt more than if he had cried. I don't care what people think, I said, my voice steady but heavy, but I do care about how you're treating the man I love. That did it. My mother's composure cracked. She laughed again, longer this time, sharper. The man you love? She scoffed. Are you trying to play the hero, Arya? You think dropping $25,000 gives you the right to do whatever you want? I took a breath, not to calm down, but to stay precise. I've never once brought up that money, I said. I never used it to ask for anything. But since you mentioned it, yes, I think I deserve a little respect. At the very least, not to be treated like an outsider at an event I paid for. Her face flushed. Pride flared like gasoline catching fire. "You think you should be proud of that?" she shouted. Then, in that narrow hallway, no witnesses, no music to drown it out, she screamed the words that changed everything. "Get out of the wedding. You have nothing to be proud of." The sentence echoed. Off the walls, off my ribs, off every memory I'd ever swallowed for the sake of peace. For a moment, I stood perfectly still, breathing slowly, holding Ethan's hand like it was the only solid thing left in the room. Then I looked at her, and in a voice so calm it scared even me, I said, "All right." She blinked. "If that's how you feel," I continued, "then I have nothing left to stay for." I turned. Not abruptly, not angrily. I walked out of the hallway, into the reception area, toward the front desk. Ethan didn't hesitate. He walked with me, matching my pace, his presence steady at my side. I asked to speak with the venue manager. I referenced the contract, the clauses, the cancellation window. I spoke clearly, professionally. A few minutes later, the manager stepped into the center of the hall. His voice rang out. "Apologies, everyone. As requested by Ms. Aria Hall, the contract holder, this event space will begin closing in 20 minutes. Staff will assist guests shortly." The room went silent. My father's face drained of color. My mother's turned red with fury. They rushed toward me. My father shouted, "Have you lost your mind? You're going to ruin your sister's wedding." My mother screamed, "What are you trying to prove?" I looked at them both. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel small. "If you can't show respect to the man I'm going to marry," I said evenly, "then I have no reason to pay for your celebration." The room froze. Then something shifted. My father's voice dropped. My mother's posture softened. Panic replaced pride. "If you do this," my father said quietly, "how are we supposed to face our relatives?" My mother stepped forward, eyes pleading. "Please don't do this. I was wrong earlier." I held her gaze and didn't move. "All right," I said. "I'll let the event continue." Relief flickered. Then I finished the sentence. "But only if you sign a loan agreement." My father stiffened. "Are you insane? You'd force your parents to sign papers like strangers?" I shook my head slowly. "No," I said, "you forced this." And in the end, they signed. Because they knew if this went any further, it wouldn't be me who looked bad. Once the paperwork was complete, I took Ethan's hand, and we walked out. Behind me, I heard Naomi call my name. But I didn't stop, because if I had, I might never have walked for myself again. The air outside the venue felt colder than it should have. Not because of the weather, but because something had finally snapped loose inside me. Ethan didn't say a word as we walked to the car. He unlocked it, opened my door first like he always did, then slid into the driver's seat and started the engine. Only when we pulled onto the road did he glance over. "You okay?" he asked softly. I nodded once. "I think I just stopped pretending," I said. Neither of us spoke after that. The wedding went on without us. I didn't stay to find out how my parents explained it to the guests. I didn't wait to see Naomi walk down the aisle. I didn't linger to be pulled back into something I'd already chosen to leave. That night I forwarded everything, contracts, receipts, the sign-in loan agreement, to my lawyer. No more conversations. No more emotional negotiations. Just clarity. And then, silence. No calls, no messages, no apologies. A month passed. On a quiet Saturday afternoon, Ethan and I had just come back from grocery shopping when the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Naomi stood there, her husband beside her. Her hand rested gently on her stomach. I opened the door and stepped aside without a word. She sat on the couch like someone carrying something fragile inside her chest. Her shoulders were tight. Her eyes darted once toward the door, like she was ready to run if I told her to leave. After a long moment, she reached into her bag. "We came to return the money," she said. She placed a thick stack of cash on the table. I looked at it, then at her. Her lips trembled. She swallowed hard. "After the wedding," she continued quietly, "Mom and Dad blamed me. They said I had to take responsibility because I accepted it." Her voice wavered, but didn't break. "For years, I've been paying their bills. Electricity, water, medication. I never told anyone. I thought that's just what children are supposed to do." The words settled slowly. "Heavy, not explosive, just devastating." "So when you asked why I didn't have savings," she whispered, eyes dropping, "that's why." I leaned back, stunned. All those years I thought she'd been protected, favored, spared, and yet she'd been carrying weight in silence, just like me. Two truths collided inside me. One part of me believed our parents had sent her, that they were still trying to reach me through her soft voice and guilty eyes. But another part remembered Naomi as a child, calling me her superhero without knowing what that cost. I reached forward and pushed the money back toward her. "This isn't for you," I said gently. Her head snapped up. I glanced at her stomach. It's for the baby. Her face crumpled. She covered her mouth and sobbed. Quiet, shaking, unguarded. I didn't rush her. Some pain needs space. When she finally stood to leave, she took my hand. For the first time in years, that grip didn't carry guilt. It carried understanding. 2 months later, she sent me a picture. An ultrasound. 3 words beneath it. Thank you, my sister. I stared at that image longer than I expected. Because in that blur of life, I saw something I'd never had. Protection without conditions. As for my parents, 3 months after the wedding, they showed up at my door. Dressed neatly, smiling like nothing had happened. We're opening a restaurant, my father said. We need 50,000. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I'll consider it, I said, with collateral, the house. My mother laughed awkwardly. We're your parents, she said. Why treat us like strangers? I met her eyes. Because the day you told me to get out of the wedding, I replied, there stopped being an us. They left and never came back. 2 months ago, I proposed to Ethan. When he said yes, it felt like peace. Later, he asked gently, should we invite your parents? I shook my head. I don't let anyone who's hurt you into our home. He nodded, and that was love. Not persuasion. Respect. Now our life is quiet. Morning coffee. Soft music. No one asking us to choose between dignity and belonging. And if there's one thing I learned, family isn't always safe. Blood isn't always love. And walking away isn't cruelty. Sometimes it's growth.